Cancer has never killed anyone. It's fear of cancer that gets them. If someone were to say to you, where does the water come from? You would say, it comes from the faucet in my kitchen. And you would be right. But there's a lot more to the story than that. There are a lot of things that are obvious, and what doctors and scientists are really good at are examining current conditions and telling you what is. But they're not very good at examining current conditions and telling you how they happened or what to do about them. Their answer for most things is take it out. In other words, you feel vulnerable when you are not. You feel vulnerable because you haven't learned to flow energy, but you have learned to acknowledge the results of how people are flowing energy. In other words, all those statistics that everybody is noting are just the results of how somebody's been flowing energy. And we don't know why any statistic, they could say 9 out of 10 will end up like such and such, and if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd say, so? What does that have to do with me? That has to do with how 9 out of 10 are flowing their energy relative to their body. I don't see how that affects me. And they would say, well, it affects you because you could be one of those 9 out of 10. And you would say, no, 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 you don't understand. I'm not one of those 9 out of 10 who doesn't understand about flowing energy. I know about my valve. I can feel when I'm thinking a thought that allows well-being to flow. I might have spent a few years not knowing, but today I know what I'm doing, and I am opening my valve and allowing the energy to flow. Every cell in your body is an energy vortex. Every cell is a transmitting and receiving mechanism. And these cells of your body, are talking about electronics again, the cells of your body are vibrationally talking to each other. And it is a masterful communication, beyond anything that man has even come close to developing in terms of electricity or in terms of computers. It is masterful the way these cells communicate. Furthermore, every cell in your body knew exactly who it was and what its function was when you came forth. The cells in your body are constantly regenerating. You have a whole different group of cells than you had when you were born. They keep replacing each other. A legacy, a heredity, a passing on the torch, so to speak. So the cells of your body are communicating with each other, and they are communicating with the non-physical energy, which is their source. The cells of your body are attracting the non-physical energy that you call life force. If your cells of your body stop doing that, they will pronounce you dead. The cells of your body do that even when you are not consciously aware. In other words, you don't have to keep alert to make sure that they keep asking. You don't take turns sitting up saying, stay awake so that the cells keep asking. In other words, you accept that this happens beyond your conscious need to pay attention. So as the cells are asking and the non-physical energy is answering, if you could consciously keep your valve open, and you're getting a sense of what we mean by keeping your valve open. The non-physical energy that is pure positive energy flows to you constantly. It could be likened to the water pressure in your house. It's always there right up against your valve. And when you want water in your house, you open the valve and let it in. When you close the valve, the water doesn't come in, but it's always there for you. That's the analogy we're offering with this valve. In other words, we want you to understand that the well-being is always there for you, but you have to open the valve. And if your valve is closed, no matter how much you're asking with words, if your valve is closed, what you're asking for cannot come. You have to feel what you're doing with your valve. So if your valve is wide open, as these cells are talking to non-physical, which means you're basking, you're appreciating, you're applauding, you're laughing, you're feeling good. If your valve is wide open, then as the cells ask and the non-physical answers, the communication is perfect, and you are brought into easy alignment, or your body stays in perfect alignment. But if you're worried about something, or angry about something, or fitful about something, or aggravated about something, then vibrationally you are sending out enough resistance that even though the cells are asking and the non-physical is answering, there is miscommunication. In other words, you're hindering the process. And in that case, sometimes your body can get more out of alignment than it would if you were feeling good more of the time. So let's say that you're riding on an airplane somewhere and you are gloriously happy. You're on your way to do something fun with someone you love and you're feeling great. And sitting next to you on the airplane is somebody who is hacking, dripping, coughing some dreaded disease. a virus of some kind. And so this person coughs it into the air, and you inhale it into your body. And your valve's open. In other words, you're feeling great. So in the moment that that virus enters your body, every part of your body knows it. And the cells begin talking to each other. Red alert, there's an intruder here. Let's deal with it. And as the cells talk to each other, they begin to communicate with non-physical. And non-physical begins to answer in a more deliberate, concentrated way. Because now you're asking a more specific question. Your cells are asking a more specific question, so more specific energy is being answered. Well, since you are consciously happy, your valve is wide open, you don't hinder that process at all. So this virus is dealt with, you don't even consciously know that it's happened, and you continue to maintain the perfect balance of your body. But let's say instead of basking, you're grumbling, you're angry, you're disappointed, you're frustrated. Your valve's not only closed right now, it's been closed all week or all month or all year. In other words, you're not a very happy camper. And as this virus enters your body and the cells communicate with each other and they communicate with non-physical, you have enough vibrational resistance within you that the communication process cannot take place without resistance. And so even though the cells are doing their work and the non-physical is doing its work, this virus still gets a foothold in your body. Then what happens? You notice it. I'm feeling achy. My head doesn't feel good. I'm feeling a little stuffy. I'm getting hot. Then what you say is, I wonder what's wrong. Or you say, I'm getting my annual flu. Or, in other words, then you turn your attention more fully to this thing that you don't want, and you further achieve vibrational harmony with this thing that you do not want, so that you further disallow. Now you are specifically disallowing the non-physical energy from doing what it would do otherwise. You see what we're getting at? Now, if it's a subject like a flu bug or the common cold, where you do not have much negative attachment to it, it works its way through your system. You don't hold on to it very long. In other words, if you've got something that nobody can give a label to, that's not nearly as destructive to you than if they can diagnose it and give it a label, because once they give it a label, then it hooks on to all of that momentum that's already been established. When you get hold of something that there's already a really well-paved path about, it's likely that you're going to go down that path a lot faster than if nobody had ever talked about it before, you see. So, what to do about it is this. You could spend your lifetime trying to convince yourself that it's not in your genetic history to have measuring the statistics and trying to make yourself feel better about this subject. Or you could say, my valve's closed. In other words, when you start noticing how you feel, and you are able to consciously keep your valve open more of the time relative to the less intense things. In other words, if people in traffic make you angry, then it's likely that something as monumental would make you negative too. You see, the more you are able to practice your valve opening techniques relative to the little things that come up day to day, the more you will be able to deal with these larger things that your mother worried about and that her mother worried about and that her mother worried about, until eventually you'll reach the place that you'll say, hey, none of that has anything to do with me. Now, it would be nice if we could have talked to all of you before any of you bumped up against any of this negative patterning. In other words, it would have been nice if the day you were born we could have said, welcome to planet Earth. All is really, really well with you. You're going to have a rip-roaring good time. You're going to bump up against all kinds of thoughts, but it doesn't matter because everything is going to be all right with you. All is well. If somebody could have instilled that knowing within you in those early days, then you wouldn't be standing before us with marriages that aren't working or finances that aren't working. But it does not matter what you've been banging up against. It does not matter where you now stand. The only thing that matters now is, what do you do with your valve relative to those subjects? What we would say to you is, don't take score too soon. 99% of all creation is complete before you see any physical evidence of it. You've been feeling really good. You've been feeling more powerful. You've been expecting more positive results. You've been doing very well. But you still have those old vibrational patterns that are still hanging in there, you see. And so you didn't have an instant cure. You just felt a little better. You felt a little better. Then something happened. It doesn't matter what it is. It's usually an examination by a doctor. That triggers your sensation of not well-being. And then what happens is you have something happen that challenges your desire to believe that all is well. And then you sort of slump back into that old vibrational pattern. And we say, doesn't matter, just take another run at it. 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 Just convince yourself, first and foremost, that what happens in your body is a direct result of what you're doing with your valve. So we'll see friends who will get going pretty good on something, and they'll feel better more and more and more. Then some remnant of some past vibration will sweep in, they'll give their attention to that, and they'll have a sort of backslide. And then they'll say, this doesn't work. And we say, it is working. In other words, you are responding directly to whatever you are predominantly giving your attention to. When you have a physical manifestation of something not wanted, it is always more difficult, once there's a physical manifestation, not to give your attention to it, because it's a pressing part of every moment. You might feel sensation, or you might feel discomfort. Now, here's most what we want you to hear. When you feel the sensation that normally you would conclude is something wrong, instead of assuming that something is wrong, acknowledge, this isn't wrong, this is something very right. In other words, this sensation that I have in the end of my nose or wherever it is, this sensation that I have is not about something being wrong, it's about non-physical energy flooding to make it right. In other words, rather than tensing against the pain, relax into it. In other words, this is help on the way. That's what a fever is. Everybody's worried about this fever. What it is non-physical energy coming forth in exaggerated fashion to rectify the condition of the body. And everybody's all worried about the fever. And we say, relax into it. Acknowledge that it's help on the way, you see. And as you relax and acknowledge, you can turn a throbbing into something that is quite pleasant. You can turn the sensation of a headache into something that is quite soothing. You can turn it's the tensing against it that is uncomfortable. When you relax into it, there is an acknowledgement that all is well, and then there is usually a very speedy healing, sometimes instantaneous, you say. Now, we are not discouraging surgery. Vibrationally take care of this. Certainly you can. But if you carry this to a great extent, we think someday we will see you at your kitchen stove banging rocks together to make fire. In other words, do not feel uncomfortable about benefiting from the evolution of your society. In other words, all of this technology that is coming forth is not for you to resist as if you are inappropriate. Embrace it as part of the whole of moving forward, you see. You don't condemn your freeways. You don't condemn your power of utilizing electricity, you see. But what we do encourage is that you utilize all of that action on the heels of flowing energy. In other words, don't go to your surgery to get rid of something that's wrong. Go to your surgery as a facilitator of getting you to where you want to be. In other words, get your energy flowing toward what you want and feel the success. In other words, teleport yourself into your future and see yourself feeling great and feel appreciation for your body and feel appreciation for what other processes brought you to that. And if you then feel so inspired, joyfully go ahead with the surgery. If you feel inspired, joyfully go ahead with allowing your body to rectify itself. But we want you to not think so much about what you're negatively creating. We want you to think more about what the positive that you're disallowing, because that really is what's happening. There's well-being for you that you're either letting in or you're not. And every time you've got negative emotion, it means you're not letting it in. And the reason you're not letting it in doesn't matter. You might have learned it from your mother. You might have learned it from television. You might have learned it from some bad experience. It doesn't matter where you learned it. The important thing is your valve's closed. Get it open.